Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the first segment of Happy Life on the channel. So we're excited. I'm super excited to be partnering up with Vanessa from Happy Nessa 1111 and family. And on today's video, we are talking about affirmations. So instead of affirmations with the I, we're talking about affirmations with the O. And Vanessa is going to introduce it and explain to us what it's about. And we're going to pick her brain about it because she has experience with this. And so, Vanessa, go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction. And I am Vanessa, but I go by Happy Nessa because my YouTube channel is called Happy Nessa 1111 and Family. And the 1111, for those who are not aware, because I know on your channel life, you're talking about spirituality as a primary focus on a spiritual journey. So for those of you who maybe are on a spiritual path, you maybe have heard that a lot of people start to see repeating numbers. And so 1111 was one of the first repeating numbers that I saw. That was my connection to the angelic realm. And so that's why it's Happiness 1111 and Family. And today's topic is about affirmations with an O. And I like to make the distinction because a lot of the times if I'm just talking and I say affirmation with an O really quickly, it kind of sounds the same as affirmation because your brain's going to perceive whatever you're used to, right? So, but there's a big distinction. Both are great. One is what I want to say. I'm not out here to kind of debate, I feel like in the spiritual community, sometimes there's a lot of debating about what's the best process or what's the best way. But both are great tools. And honestly, I feel like whether you're on a spiritual path or just on a self-improvement path, either way can work. Like there's a psychological component to it and there's a spiritual component to it, whether you call it that or not. So an affirmation with an I is a statement that is said, or written down. And it's like basically you're affirming something over your life, right? Affirmation with the I, you're affirming that I am rich. I am intelligent. I am happy, So of course, a lot of you are aware of this. Affirmations are used to attract what you want in your life. And again, it's specifically a statement with a period at the end, or maybe an exclamation point. I am happy, exclamation point. The difference between an affirmation with an I and an affirmation is that an affirmation is going to have a question mark at the end. And without going too deep in it, that little distinction might seem like insignificant, but it's really a major distinction when it comes to what I call God or the universe. It's a big distinction in how the universe, how God is really hearing what you're saying. I came across this when I was along the path of kind of researching different spiritual communities and beliefs. And so this was years ago when I was like, I'm not sure what I believe, but I'm going to at least explore. So in my exploration, I came across access consciousness. And so in that spiritual community, basically, they didn't even call it affirmations. I don't even know what they called it, but they just said, this is how we communicate with what we call the universe or the God, God. And this is how we manifest what we want in our life. And I was like, okay, it makes sense. So when I started using it, I didn't actually understand the distinction between the question mark and I just knew this was a spiritual community who seemed to be manifesting more of what they wanted. And that's what I wanted. So I started to write down my things. And fast forward to years later, when I'm talking to others on a similar path, and I talk about, the question mark, they're like, oh yeah, an affirmation. I'm like, oh, that's what it's called. I didn't know I had a name. And the distinction with the question mark is this. There's a couple of things. One, when you're affirming something over your life, but you don't believe it as much, then obviously God is God. The universe is, the most supreme intelligence out there. I get that. So there is an understanding of our intention when we ask for things, right? We pray for things, we affirm things, but there's a lot of resistance.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, we ask it in a way, or we ask it from a place of lack. We ask it so we don't have it, or and a lot of times that we don't believe it's even possible. So it's like we're begging for things that we know we can't have. And that's how I used to know prayer, basically. You know how I feel about prayer. Like, I feel like the only prayer you really need to say is thank you. Be grateful for it. Yes. with affirmations, I think something comes from our subconscious mind that says, no, you don't,
Yes.
or no, you're not. And so that's something
Mhm.
that comes really quite naturally. Our subconscious mind, that's our ego trying to say, hey, no, don't change. Don't do anything different. You're okay like you are because this is what we're used to. And so with affirmations, I think there's a lot of room for that. Like a lot of people have been able to manifest using affirmations, but I think that it depends on where their subconscious mind is or where their
Oh,
ego mind.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Affirmations, like I said, I'm not out here to debate about one versus the other.
Mhm.
I am here to say that in my experience, affirmations are more, I don't know if powerful is the right word, because like you said, if the person is already in the right energetic space, you use an affirmation, you manifest what you want. Or if you're really in the right energetic space, you have no need to even use affirmations or affirmations. You're just
Right.
literally manifesting your desires, right? So it
Exactly.
depends on the person. But what specifically we're saying, both of you and I are saying, there seems to be less resistance with the
Right.
question mark. And we maybe need to do a follow up to this, because the book that talks about this talks about like very specific pathways that your brain takes when you make a statement versus a question. So
Right.
the
And
book talks
okay,
about,
let me
yeah,
tell you this. Let me tell you what I just read in this article.
yeah,
Because I was kind of doing my research so I could talk with you about this.
yeah,
And it said that when you ask a question, your mind immediately begins looking for the answer. And so that's
yes,
the way basically that you're kind of you're first of all, you're convincing your subconscious mind that it is true, and all we need to know now is why. So
yeah,
usually they're saying that the question, the affirmation usually starts with why,
yeah,
and it's like, so it's like why, and then you say your affirmation like, why am I so happy? And
yeah,
so your subconscious mind is like, oh, we're happy, let me find out why, let me look for the
yeah.
reasons why. And so that's why I think it's so powerful. I'm super excited to start using it. I haven't really begun using it. I've done it a couple times, like I texted you a couple times with some
Mm-hmm.
affirmations, but I haven't really had that on my radar to start using it. And I'm excited about it because when I think about it, it just makes sense. It just makes so much sense to me of why it would work. Because I'm a person that I like the study of neuroscience. I'm not like a
Yes.
neuroscientist yet. I'm not super well versed on it, but in my experience and the things that I've been learning and researching and reading, all of it just connects.
Yeah.
I'm so connected. It resonates with me so greatly. And so when you brought this up, I was like, wow, this is big.
Oh
This
yeah.
is big. So yeah, and we can definitely do follow up. Maybe we should both challenge ourselves to begin
Yeah.
really using this on a day-to-day basis, and maybe ask a question or two or three a day, and then just see how it goes. We can follow up on another segment of Happy Life, and we can challenge you guys, the audience. We've been talking to
Yeah.
ourselves, like we can talk to each other, but we can challenge you guys, the
That'd
audience,
be great.
to do this as well. So if you guys get what we're saying, please ask any questions you might have in the comments too, so that we can delve into that in the next episode. We're in a
Exactly.
follow-up episode, but let us know and take it upon yourself to try this, because I really feel it is powerful. If you resonate with it, go ahead and try it, and then let us know in the comments that you're gonna try it. Meet us back here for the next episode as well, and just let us know how you feel about that. Wouldn't that be fun?
That's gonna be awesome. Yeah. That would be
Yeah.
a great way to like build community around this, and we can all talk about what just came to mind for me is the feeling that you feel. And it's interesting. I looked up at precisely 11:11. The feeling that you feel,
Uh-huh.
like different spiritual people and psychologists alike will talk about, like, let's say this affirmation about riches or financial prosperity. Let's say you say, I am rich versus why am I rich versus rich. So all those are three different things. I'm going to add one little thing in there. So they say if you have resistance to saying I am rich, then again, the question, just feel how it feels for you to say I am rich versus Why am I rich?
My
And
rich.
even if you just say rich, or if you say prosperity or wealthy, if you have resistance to I am wealthy or I am prosperity, there's some research that says if you just say prosperity, and like then to your like even back attracting what we want in our life, but we're simultaneously not really trying not to create resistance because that is resistance, but we're just trying to
Right.
minimize the
Right.
resistance. So there's
Right.
different
And if
ways to
you
minimize that resistance. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, and if you feel that resistance, it's okay to recognize that that's not the path you should go right at the moment. It's okay to say,
Yeah,
well, when I feel resistance around I am prosperous or I am rich, it's okay to change it and go with something that feels less resistant to you. That's you
that
knowing
is true.
that's
Exactly.
you knowing you. That's you knowing who you are and how you work. So that makes all the sense in the world to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you have
No,
anything?
I think that I think I'll do a summary, a quick little summary, because we did go back and forth. So just to make it very clear, what we're saying is the only difference between an affirmation and an affirmation is that question mark instead of a period. And we're saying that it creates less resistance, which specifically for a lot of people helps you manifest what you want easier. When I say easier, that could be with less drama or less hurdles. And for me, in my experience, it's helped me manifest things quicker. It's like it speeds up the process. So
Okay.
make sure you're ready. I put disclaimers on affirmations. Make sure you're ready for what you ask for when you use affirmations in that way. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember you telling me that. And
Yep.
lastly, we are going to challenge you guys, the audience, to join us in using this affirmation if it resonates with you. Go ahead
Exactly.
and begin using it. Pick 1 to 3 questions that you're going to ask yourself, and then meet us back here for the follow up to this when we'll dive further into it and revisit how we're feeling about using affirmations when we get back. So, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Look out for another segment next week of Happy Life. If you haven't already, please go ahead and follow Happy Nessa 1111 and family. We will post that in the description and the comments. We will post a link to her channel so you guys can go over there and follow her. And we will also have a video on her channel this week as well. We're going to go over some things we've experienced and in the beginning of our spiritual journey. And so look out for that video to be on her channel as well. So thanks again for joining and have a happy life.
Thank y'all so much. Thanks, Life.